The objectives for this morning, what we're going to do in the next little while here. Number one, discuss the why of classroom collaboration. But how can we incorporate some of the teamwork concepts in here in addition to learning the foundational basics of the anatomy and physiology and pathophys and cardiology and all those things that we teach as a part of paramedicine? How can we do some other things that will prepare these people for a career in this profession in some of the other things they're going to do as a part of this job? So that's the basis for objective number one. Number two, I'm going to spend a little bit of time here. We are going to spend time here, the bulk of what we do this morning, in doing a couple different things. We're going to put some puzzles together, first off, and then secondly, we're going to do some work with a helium stick and talk about how we build teamwork, how we make this thing work, how we can all work together as a team to accomplish a particular goal. Both those tasks will incorporate that. And then number three, I think we want to have fun with this thing. Anything I do, I tell the students in class, anything I do, there's a purpose and a reason behind what I do, number one. And number two, some of the things, the purpose is just to have fun. Okay, why am I most interested in measuring and evaluating the students? There are several reasons. Number one, can you perform a task? Now I know you can read and write and you can hopefully communicate, we can exchange ideas back and forth, but if I give you something that's kind of different or outside of the norm, how do you do in performing that? Number two, how well can you perform? Number three, how do you interact with other people? And that's, now we're getting into the really important stuff that I'm most interested in observing in these people and teaching them how to do if they're not able to do it successfully on their own initially. Number four, do you work well in a team environment? Some people would say, you know, I prefer to work on my own. Some people are very comfortable in a team or group environment, but ultimately in my profession, you have to be comfortable in this group environment. Number five, can you follow directions? Number six, are you able to make decisions? And then number seven, how are you at critical? We talk about critical thinking in class in that concept, in that everything we do in what we teach the students involves some degree of critical thinking, especially when you get out working as a paramedic in the field. You make a lot of critical thinking decisions, and some of those decisions have to be made immediately. We can't sit and discuss them for 5 minutes, get our team together and talk about what we're going to do. Some of them we have to make right now for the benefit of those folks that we are concerned for their safety or well-being. So that's kind of where we're headed right here. And I'll just leave that up there. First thing we're going to do, and this is where you all come in. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of you. We need a couple groups, probably a group of 3 and a group of 4. So you can move right now. Here's what we're going to do. I want you to take a few minutes, however long it takes. I hope it doesn't take a half hour, but let's put our puzzle together. Go. Let's talk about what we learned as a result of this. Now, ultimately, what does putting a puzzle together have to do with what I teach in the paramedic program? The answer is absolutely nothing. There's no correlation between puzzles and paramedics. However, in one respect, that's true. In another respect, there are a lot of things that I teach the students. We talk about putting puzzles together that have directly to do with what we're learning in class or what you are teaching your students. Let's make a list of things we learned. What did we learn from putting a puzzle together in our teams? Cooperation. Next?
Ask questions.
Okay. Listen.
Dividing up the tasks.
Okay, dividing tasks. What else? Organization. We're going to go back and talk about these one at a time once we have our list. Anything else we can put up here? Leadership. All right, next thing we're going to do is use a couple helium sticks. Ultimately, as a group, with all of our fingers contacting the stick at all times, lower this stick all the way to the floor.
What's the goal? Are we going
We're
all the way to the floor?
We're there. We're there.
Yeah.
We're there. We're there. We're there. Hey! Okay. Wow.
At the same time. Yeah. They get the same time?
So steady.
Now, everybody initially, thank you, sir. Everybody initially probably thought, what is so hard about keeping a stick horizontal and just getting it down to the floor like 4 feet from here down to there? Sounds like a no-brainer, but in reality, we find that it's much more difficult than it seems that it would be. Why is that the case?
Because not everyone is moving at the same rate.
Okay, not everybody's moving together at the same rate of speed.
And you can't feel the weight of it.
Yeah, pretty light. Thus the idea of the helium stick. Did anybody have the sense at one point that the stick tended to be floating upwards? Yeah, thus the name helium stick. So now, I've done this in large groups and small groups, and I've had people say, well, how does that stick is floating up. No, the stick's not floating up. There's nothing magical about the stick that's making it magically float up in the air. But the fact is, if somebody gets out of balance, starts raising their stick, and my fingers on the other end are down here, well, it certainly appears the stick is floated up away from my fingers. So some of the same principles up here we talked about with the puzzles certainly apply with these sticks. Anything else, anything in addition to what we had up here, we're doing a little more physical tasks now where we're out, physically, we've got to balance this thing on our fingers. We have to get it lowered down to the ground in a group, so maybe a little more group effort. I'll tell you what happened in our group that I observed. I wasn't saying much, but eventually Leslie took over. She became the self-appointed leader, which was good. We needed a leader, and she stepped up and said, okay, and she was giving the command, down, down, down. Oh, hold on here, let's get balanced out. Your end's out of balance, down, and we were doing that. In summary, what my point is in just doing these two fun little exercises, these are things that I think can be done in any discipline here at the college, whether you're teaching accounting or English or math or welding, whatever it happens to be. The fact is that most disciplines that we teach here, I'd say probably all of them, require cooperation. Once your students get out in the workplace, they're going to need to cooperate with people that they work with. They need to cooperate before they ever get there with people in the classroom and with their instructors. And so I see these two simple, fun, childish tasks as things that teach cooperation, they teach teamwork, they teach leadership, they teach organization, and things we've talked about up here this morning as fun ways to be able to accomplish those. And again, there's any number of variations we can do with these things as well in terms of changing the rules or making things a little more challenging once people have mastered this at the entry level, that we can go on and use these things, and I do in my classroom throughout my time with my students.